In the beginning, it has been taught to us that there was a void without shape or form. We represent this by water. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in the midst of the void of any shape or form, the words were uttered, "Let there be light." And there was light. And soon after, it was a land that separated the waters. And because we are in tune with the earth, we will call ourselves Earth today. The combination of the elements of the earth, we are made of these things. Good evening, and welcome once again to Tr1umphanTV's The Build, featuring my brother Eli. I am blessed to have him share with me in this positive energy today. We are those in this experience that depend upon evidence, not merely hope, not even praise, but the work and discipline and what it yields, as well as evidence. This is an experiment of which there are tools all around us which we can use for our disposal to create, to play, to frolic with, to find what can be built with the combination of said tools. And because of that, and the fervor that comes from being in a discipline that learns of these tools, we come together to build. How are you, brother builder? Eli.
Peace, greetings, brother. I am existing, and I'm a brother of truth, and I'm fasting, of course, and I'm here with you. Yeah, I'm a truthful brother.
Yes, indeed.
I'm learning new things as I get older, and the things that were fun and adventurous seem to have a little more pinch to it. And I only think it's fair that the younger people get to know the absolute truth, because the truth, they say, will set you free. Because when you have understanding, the challenges of life are a little more reasonable when you have understanding with these challenges. So I'm willing to be honest compared to the world just pretending that you're doing well. I'm doing well in health, but the mind is always the wrestling match between the angel and the person that want the new name. Like I think it was Jacob or Jacob or something like that. Got the new name.
That is correct.
Wrestle all night. Yes, sir.
That indeed is the one that was born hands first. For he had his hands upon the heel of Esau coming out of the womb.
Yes, sir.
And that type of wrestling shows and proves itself a person who cares enough about the evidence to want to yield positive results in the work.
Yes, sir.
I actually wanted to talk about that today with you. I wanted to talk about the work. In your experience, what is, was, and will be the work? We hear of people always talking about putting in the work. And it becomes almost meme like, cliche even, to say that. Walking the walk and talking the talk, putting in the work, faith without works is dead, and all of these things. And you are uh, the existence and the series of events that the world encapsulates as the experience that is Eli has done, in my humble opinion, a lot of work. So, as a person who has that type of experience, I ask you humbly what you hear and feel or experience or know of based upon the procedures that you have taken part in these projects, in this science experiment, what the work actually is.
Blessings, brother. Thank you very much for that particular question. All I can say is for myself personally, I am no one. I have no wisdom. I have no knowledge. I am nothing. On the other hand, life itself, God or Christ or the one whom you love, the great existence, the all in all, its work is an inspiration for me. My perspective of its work is like the ant in the grass of a yard who does not have the ability to see the neighbor's yard or the subdivision that the home is in. I still can see the sun and the stars, but I am not high enough to observe other works of the great it or the great God or the great Christ. So from my ground view level, along with my big glasses, what I observe is a consistency. The consistency is great. The consistency is a marvel. It is amazing. Sometimes I almost faint when I start getting into the observation from the ground floor. I just see the magnificence. Like my land that I was allowed to exist on at the moment, I can cut the grass and cut the weeds, and I can do that 8 to 10 hours. I can take a nap, wake up in the morning, and they're back at me, waving. Like, so when you're in nature, nature is a marvel. Nature is always going, is always active. And since I live in nature and I'm a minimalist, I have a relationship with ants, a personal relationship with ants. And when you haven't been on land that's been chemically compromised, you live in nature. So I can wake up and have a trail of ants 2, 3 in the morning, just busy because I just happened to put something maybe by accident, but nature
Mhm.
doesn't care.
Mhm.
So I wake up to a line of ants busy, period.
Mhm.
And I said, well, let me just go outside. I look and I see the stars. Remember, light travel at the rate of 186,000 miles per
Per
second.
second.
They're still
Yes.
shining. Sometimes I see the moon. Sometimes when I look at my hand, my fingernails have grown just a little more. Or I look in the mirror, I may see an extra wrinkle. Or I may wake up hungry. So work is constant. Work is real. Work like the light. We seeing work right here. So a short version of work from my ground view is something that is consistent, is forever giving. And like David in the Bible, I think Psalm or David, it's nature or God in life is just always working, always busy. So me personally, plus I fast on Sundays, and
Mm.
being a minimalist, you'll have to give mercy. because I don't have the central air and I don't want to be loud. So I may have my little towel, actually it's a form of exercise, to be honest, or a sauna. That's for free to keep a
Mm-hmm.
positive note. You got to make everything from a positive perspective because
Absolutely.
the mind is always recording. Everything is always listening. I was just listening to a video before we got started of a young girl. She was posting something about plant life, and she went into how a person who did was, I think he was a lie detector technician, and he connected his plants um, to the lie detector test because it's so sensitive to energy or whatever. And in my mind, it popped up the secret life of plants when they've been doing this since the 70s. But she's a young girl, so she just keeping the knowledge on. It may be a new face, but the knowledge is old, but it will continue to exist. And she added a little note to, because this is all part of work. She said that his first experiment, he was going to burn the plant. Before he burned the plant, he implanted the thought in his mind, and then the plant start responding as if he did it.
Mm.
And
Mm.
she was saying that look at all the negativity that humans, live in when they think walking around. I have to be at work. All these things, because then not to go too far of the subject of work, but this is all work because work is life. It exists.
Mm-hmm.
So she was going to the implication of being responsible of our work because we don't eat food alone, but we can eat words and digest
Mm.
words. And now we know that human beings can change the frequency from the earth after studying September 11th. So my little concept of work, brother, from a ground 0 point level, what I see is consistency. I don't see any rest. I don't see holidays. I don't see weekends. I don't see all these excuses because
Mm.
all the humans existence always there for them when they're on their holidays, when they're with their families, when they sitting so-called sitting still. But if they got all those atoms moving in their bodies, who is working for them while they proceed to sit still, um, is a very serious discipline. And when you align yourself with the word, I believe existence or God or Christ itself will allow you to live a little longer on this earth. And when you live a little longer on this earth, you will obtain certain levels of wisdom. Yes, sir.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I will say that my definition of work has definitely evolved from due to experience. I won't even say age, but I will say due to experience. Because when I was inexperienced, the idea of work automatically had a connotation of boredom, of repetition, of something I did not want to do. Henceforth, the opposite of that was always thought of as play. The problem that I have come to realize with that as the experiences grew within was that work could actually be playful. Work can actually be something that you enjoy, especially if you are searching for purpose
Mm,
in the work. Uh, in our innocence and genius as children, we don't necessarily have the idea of limitation put on in us innately. It's put onto us.
mm,
And once we are wearing what we are told to wear,
mm. Yes, sir.
then we begin to think of work as something that is boring, as repetition, because we see our figures of authority who are
Mm,
engaging in work that is repetitious and boring, things that they are taught by groupthink even to dislike because of the repetition. We hear of people without even understanding truthfully why, hating Mondays and loving Fridays a day that man has put forth to say this is the first day of work, and that being the bane of some people's existence, at least even by hyperbole, because they have to engage in this work. And Friday automatically being thought of as a day that you will be compensated for the work. Not even compensated fairly, but just the fact that you are given a figment, an imaginary figment that says this is what that work is worth. And we call this payday. That is the happiest day of the week. And that the most unhappiest day of the week is on a Monday. Now, you and I both know that there are many calendars on this planet. And even the Gregorian calendar, the one that we use this day and age in this country, has been completely misinterpreted due to the cycle of work. Most people believe that Monday is the first day of the week. You and I both know, even by looking at the calendar, that the first day is indeed Sunday. Which brings forth even another debate as to what is the true Sabbath. The day of rest. Payday is not the day of rest. In many different cultures, it is thought of that the Shabbat is on Saturday, which is actually at the end of the calendar that we so diligently debate about.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sunday being a man-made approach of what Sabbath is, or the man-made misinterpretation, even based upon their own calendars, as what the Sabbath is kept with an illusion of holiness. When Saturday night, the night before, they are frolicking, they are
Right.
engaging in all different types of dangerous, dare I say it, dangerous play. And it is not holy at all. I remember having a debate, actually. I won't say an argument. I'll say a debate. A debate,
Conversation.
a conversation, yes, a colorful conversation
Colorful, yeah.
about, about the Sabbath, about Shabbat, about the idea that Sunday is the last day, and that's the day of rest, and that Monday is the first. And all I had to do was have her open her own calendar to see it for herself. The things that we hide in plain sight on purpose for someone else's agenda. I think we spoke about this some episodes ago about the difference between purpose and agenda. That purpose can be thought of more spread out for a group of people, for a culture, but agenda can be very personable and even selfish. I say all that to say this. As I got more experienced, and as I found those wrinkles, and as I found that it was a little bit harder to get out of bed in certain mornings rather than others, I started to realize the power of work as an electromagnetic being that puts itself in situations that calls for kinetic and potential energy to be intermittently intertwined, and finding joy within that because of the possibility of it. Let us together imagine, or not necessarily imagine, because again, we prove by evidence, those who are bedridden, those who are without work, that wish they can move kinetically to produce for a purpose. They have a vacation every day, some people would think. But there is an inner work that is not talked about when it comes to seeing those wrinkles, when it comes to finding out that those muscles and the sinew and the bone are starting to wear thin, pain is work. Now, brother, we talked briefly about as people get older, they tend to get more angry. I want you to share just a little bit about that, by that conversation we had about that experience and coming closer to the veil and how that correlates with the anger that comes out of that in the human experience for some.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna say that dealing with the, if you don't mind, to go back just a little bit about how the body declines, our perception. We have to remember that my apologies, I'm not speaking for all, but some of us who believe in a God or a father or a great mother, a parent, if you will, when you're younger, the child may need to be breastfed. And there is a relationship between the newborn baby and the mother. Two people are conscious, one person is not. The baby is conscious and the breast are conscious, but the mother is not conscious between their relationship because the new mother don't know about necessarily colostrum unless she had a baby before. But the baby and the breast have relationship because the baby have to show that it knows how to survive by sucking on the mother's breast without the mother's instructions, period.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a work that you have to show as soon as you come out of the womb. And there's a consciousness that is waiting for your work, meaning the mother's breasts, because the colostrum will activate the child's immune system. So there's a relationship that may not be compute as what we compute as intelligence, but for some of us, intelligence is motion and action. So that's a sign of intelligence. So if the breast respond to the baby's milk and is nonverbal, but the adults can see it visually and it activates the baby immune system, then the consciousness in the baby's being communicates with that colostrum milk, which activates the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a little older, you have to know a little better. To make a long story short on that, is when you're 15, 5 years old, you still don't have enough knowledge on certain things. You're still playful. So you can break your arm and your body says he's still playful. The consciousness of the being is saying that the awake consciousness inside the body is still playful. So we're going to heal the arm faster. But when the consciousness of the body is connected to the consciousness of the earth, and you're 60 years old and you are acting foolish, and if you break that same arm, the consciousness of the body, which has been connected to the consciousness of the earth and the environment, saying, look, you're supposed to have a little more wisdom. So we're not going to help you heal your arm faster because you're supposed to be in activities that's going to not allow you to injure yourself as you did when you were 5 to 15 years old. So human beings, their body not necessarily breaks down, but they have to learn to be responsible for their bodies. Because when you was younger, you could just take a nap and just get right up. So when you 40 or 50, you have to let the elbow know, the shoulders know, you know what I'm saying? You got to wake up. You got to do a little dance, let everything knows, and then you get up. You don't just get up because you have to be more responsible for your existence.
Yes.
So that's what aging is about for a short version of it. is that you have to be responsible for your existence.
Mm-hmm.
So going to the other question, which I actually forgot the other question. What's the other question, brother? Do you remember yourself?
I was talking about, well, we were first talking about also about age in that
Aging, right?
part.
That was the
Yes,
first part.
aging.
Yes, sir.
That
Yes,
was the first part, but
right.
also what will be as the work. The third part is what will be.
What will
Um,
be?
is there such thing as preparing for the future? Is there a such thing as a future at all? Is there a such thing as preparing for death?
Mm. Yes, sir. Everything in life, there is a classroom that awaits.
Mm.
Let's observe the sperm cell. The sperm cell, as I always say, don't have a book to read, no one to really communicate to. Say, oh, the sperm, well, you take left, you take right, and there it is.
Right.
There's an inner knowing, an inner awareness that is connected to the greater body, meaning the mother. So when a sperm cell comes out, it do its work to get to the egg. And the egg is already have information in it. So after the sperm hit the egg cell, there's a greater knowledge, there's a greater awareness, getting you prepared to have lungs and eyes and stuff, getting you prepared for this physical world, right? So the same as death, as above, so below. And some of the people from the East, they got these meditative practices, like when you can inhale in one nose and exhale the other nose, and you can inhale for about 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to 1 minute, you definitely will know how it feels to um you definitely will know how it feels to learn how breath you can die basically. So
Mm-hmm.
if those, because where we are from, we say never believe us. Just try it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't believe what's going to awaken in your consciousness about death, please try for 5 minutes, 1 minute apiece. Inhale for 1 minute, exhale for another minute. If you when you get to that point, trust me, just like when the sperm cell enter into the egg, there's a new knowledge and there's a new awareness that will await you. Just
Mm-hmm.
like if you do drugs. When you do drugs, there's a new knowledge that come into your consciousness. There's things that you can talk about if compared to when you didn't consume the drug. So yes, you can prepare for death. They have this thing in the East called the rainbow body. If you have ever watched the movie Powder, Powder exhibited a level of rainbow body at the end when he just burst into the rainbow. They also have monks who can, it is known that they speak to their disciples and it says, well, it's time for me to leave. And they get into a meditative point and then they spiritually leave and the body slowly declines. And then when they walk outside, they see a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that and thinking about life itself, whenever you prepare for a test, for the most part, if you don't have test stress or test anxiety, you could do pretty well. So it is known emphatically when you prepare for something, you may not be aware of it, but when you walk across that line after being prepared, that new awareness will give you a great hug compared to not being prepared. When you're not prepared and you get into a situation, even in martial arts, even everything in life, because human beings are creatures of habit. I remember when I was younger, I used to put my arms against the side of the entrance of the door for about 1 minute. And then when I let my arms go on my own consciousness, the muscle will lift my arms up automatically, you know. So death itself, life itself, existence itself, love knowledge. It loves to inform, even dreams, even the afterlife. Everything from my 0 point understanding you will have warning signs, or you will have things that will come into your conscious and your unconscious to say you need to change something or you need to listen. Everything. Even when your body start breaking down, like smokers, they start coughing a little more. There's always signs. So when you deal with people that's dying, some great people, from my 0 point observation, before they died, they was extremely angry. Because remember, that's what we was talking about earlier, about the
Yes.
anger and death. It's kind of popped in as
Yes.
the flowers start blooming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
From my 0 point observation, when you get to a certain age, life itself, one of its main attributes is annoyance. So when you get to a certain age, everything becomes very annoying, like losing your keys, losing your glasses, very simple things, because for some reason you don't have the tolerance for surprises. So if you are a disobedient soul, a lot of things going to present itself as being challenging. And when you accept these challenging things, you must die. First, you will die spiritually, and then you will die consciously, and then you will die willfully. And then once you lose your will, you'll die physically. So the heart is very important. The ancient Egyptians got the scale between the feather and the heart. And your heart is your closest companion. It remembers everything. And the heart, for some reason, is wired to remember the negative things. If I was your friend for 1,000 years and I've done well, everything good for you for 999 years, but all of a sudden, one day, if I done something bad towards you, you will remember that bad thing compared to all the 99 years of good things,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially to a certain age. So nature itself, because it's all conscious, one of the major things in nature to get rid of humans, especially disobedient souls, is to create a consistent, more extreme, annoying situations over and over. So it keeps building up. One thing
Mm.
leads to the next because you're a disobedient soul.
Mm.
So when you're a disobedient soul, you have to go back home. And for those who believe in reincarnation, then come back maybe in the same classroom to learn. And from my awareness, is to love.
Mm.
So that leads me to a story from the East, because they have the greatest stories. You have this guy, he went to do a more modern version of it. It was just this dude. He maybe was a fisherman. And in that lake, he just bathed. Maybe he was a minimalist. So he bathed in that lake. And that lake became a holy lake. Well, let me just tell the story. In
Mm.
certain countries, they have lakes that's considered a holy lake. You go in there and bathe.
Yeah.
And this man, when he was walking home in the heat of the day, it was a gentleman sitting out for some reason, because he didn't know the guy. But this is how life works. He threw dirt on him. So the guy who just came from the lake, he turned right back around, went to the lake, prayed, and then bathed himself again. So he walked in the same path, and here come the gentleman again. He threw more dirt on him. And the guy just turned back around to the river and the lake, bathed himself again, and prayed. That went on for 19 times. So the 20th guy, when the guy came back after washing and praying, the guy did not throw dirt on him. He asked him a question. He said, "Sir, you know I've been throwing dirt on you after you was doing your prayer. Why you didn't fight me? Why you didn't curse me out? or why you just didn't go home and continue on your day. The gentleman slightly turned to him because he was facing towards the east, towards his home. He said, "Thank you for your question, sir. I really appreciate that. And I am so honored that you were throwing dirt on me because I don't know the mind of God. Maybe that day God knew that I need to pray and clean more. So while
Hmm.
you were throwing dirt on me, that told me it was some things I was leaving out. So I was praying more and cleansing myself. So disobedient souls, for the most part, take challenging challenges as the enemy.
Hmm.
So when you don't take challenges as the enemy, when you take challenges in a more positive view, um, i.e., like me and my sauna that I'm in the summer,
Hmm.
I took it as me form of exercising. So your mind will resonate or connect it to the intelligence of your heart, and your intelligence of your heart is connected to existence itself. So when you have a positive affirmation, even unto death, and we have evidence of monks putting fire over their bodies and they didn't get up, run, and scream. They sat there while they was completely engulfed in flames. So we have the evidence. People have knives. They do all types of things to the body, which we cannot do at this very moment. So yes, you can prepare for the type of death for the most part in certain environments, but it takes a complete knowledge. And if you don't have a complete knowledge, then other things will rule over you. So when you have a complete knowledge, you can do almost anything you want because existence itself, from my ground view level, is the laws of cause and effect.
Hmm.
Because even people who live a spiritual life, when their body is going through certain changes, they'll have an energy. They have a form of protection that they don't feel the type of pain that an unprepared person will feel. It's too much information, it's too much internet videos, it's too much people alive that can do some extraordinary things when they're dying. But if you ask them, most of the spiritual ones, they was preparing, they were doing certain ritualistic things, they was fasting, they was, doing some things to prepare, because some people, when they start dying, they don't have the will to eat anymore. Eating is painful, even breathing is painful. So if you train yourself, like, since I was 19, I'm 49, so for about 40 years I've been putting in cold water in my nostrils. And years ago, I used to feel a burn, but now it's no burn.
Hmm.
So if I drown, you know what I'm saying? My lungs will be full, but I'm conditioned to be used to the burn that goes through your body after you inhale some water. So preparation with complete knowledge seems to be the best form of existence. And so not having that bitter heart, or trying your best to not to be annoyed on the negative side, be uncomfortable, but try to put a positive spin in your heart, in the conscious of your heart, of the situations that you're dealing with, because we're all dealing with some things. So how are you going to not deal with some things when you see everybody in the Bible? And I even have Mother Teresa's diary, how she didn't believe Jesus was with her on a lot of occasions. So all of us have a level of what we consider suffering. But I believe, and I definitely know, that your attitude towards these things can change the frequency of your heart, and it changes the frequency of everything around you. So just the basic understanding about anger of the heart and death itself, I know for a fact that you can have some knowledge on the many processes of death, like the sperm cell had knowledge of the processes of life. So if the sperm cell have an unconscious, unaware knowledge of the process of life, I believe when it's time to die, like a lot of monks know, when they have people know they can choose when to leave, compared to those who lived a certain type of life and then death had to take them away. So
Mm.
you can prepare for both. And I believe a good, loving, gentle, soft heart and a good, loving, gentle thing of, I would say, how you face those challenges, the memories of how you face those challenges will help elevate you to that physical leaving part of the body.
What a amazing and immense answer to those questions. These are things that I will contemplate continually. These are answers and questions that we ponder and debate and build upon that need more than just one go round of a listen of the ears to take in the layers that are within. And I am deeply appreciative of that. And to also prove of the work that is being done, I can attest to the fact that neither you or I, up until the very moment that we are aired tonight, had even discussed that we were going to talk about this tonight.
Yes, sir.
That's how innate, that's how conscious that intelligence is and resides within us each day.
Yes, sir.
That is the preparation. The preparation comes from the knowledge obtained over time through books, through those Eastern stories that are so beautiful, that represent the reality, and putting it, triangulating it with that evidence to prove it on its own accord that it is valuable of the space that we have here and the time that we have left, for which we know no number, that we cannot escape from. I want to give one small moment of silence for everything that has been collected upon our consciousness today. And I hope that all that are with me join in this moment of silence and contemplation of what has been shared in this bill. Thank you. I want to go for a brief moment because we actually have people who have been asking questions or comments that are in the broadcast. First one was from Ray Vasquez, who gave us his arrival as the Lotus Child, which is earlier in the broadcast. Second one being from Netanya Bat Israel, the anger that we experience as we get older. I believe that that was continuing on the conversation to make sure that we did not go too far nebulous, not necessarily off track, but in the stars. But also the comment of death, the alleviation of pain, strangely enough, also the alleviation of pain, because those pains are intermittent. It makes me think of a certain film that I remember watching. A soldier that was in war that was wounded near fatally, and a brother in arms reached over to the soldier and saw that his brother was wounded and that he had to have his mind taken off of the near fatal wound to keep him alive. And so he took his finger and he broke his finger. He turned it in the opposite direction. And the response was immediate and intense. It was a scream, a yell, but it diverted the attention onto something smaller. It caused all the electromagnetic energy to go here instead of the fatal wound, thus keeping him alive. I think that there is a lesson in that as well. It is written, it has been said in many churches, synagogues, and other places that have considered themselves holy, that God will not put anything more on you than you can bear. And the response that tends to come from the general populace of people who are enduring a certain amount of pain will literally ask God itself, how strong do you believe I am? Or even have the audacity to comment in opposition, I do not wish to be this strong.
Mm.
Fun fact about ants.
Yes, sir.
Ants did not wish to be able to have the capacity to carry 10 to 15 times their own body weight upon their abdomen or thorax, but they can. And so they do. They find worth and purpose in it. And that is how ant hills are created. That is how leaves can be moving across your grass. That is how these things are done, because they found purpose in it. Does not say whether or not the ant is enduring pain, but I can relatively surmise that if I were to carry 10 times my body weight onto my back, even if I was able to successfully do so, I would be in a certain layer of pain. And that endurance and that repetition and that work combined as a group effort for one purpose without hidden agenda, that is a very powerful thing. I remember talking to a person that was speaking about reincarnation. And I remember in my young, inexperienced age thinking, I don't want to be an ant when I come back. And the evolution of that has come to, I beg to differ with my younger self. I think that I would much rather be in a place with that type of band of brotherhood together for a common goal on a daily basis, doing this work in another life, than not. There are some, dare I say it, who wish to become that rainbow, to have that imminent light explode them into the everywhere, and finally achieve being everything and nothing, and not coming back here. And that being your definition of true peace. Regardless of which end of the spectrum on that rainbow that you are on, I wish peace, love, and light to you all in the most positive sense of the word, for light and darkness can be equally blinding. Too much light will burn your eyes if you are not accustomed to it. So it must be done in layers. And sometimes those layers might take more than one lifetime, or even the life that you had shortened before obtaining that knowledge. But that said, I wish all the best, but in this experience, I do prepare for what others would believe to be the worst. Let's put that into palatable terms. Term life insurance, not whole life insurance, so that your children, your significant other, does not have the burden of carrying more than your casket
Mm.
away from this world and put into the ground. So they would not be indebted due to your debt. Investments of certain sorts, so that there is a stream of guaranteed income to sustain your family. And also the truth of age and being able to share that in such a way that can be understood, even if only a certain layer, that it is appreciative enough that it can be given and received without anger. This, I hope, I pray, I affirm, I manifest as it shall be. May it be so. Brother Eli, do you have any other words of wisdom?
Once again, life, I am so grateful and honored to have the ability to express words. I hope and pray I didn't offend anyone with these words. As I said at the beginning, I have no knowledge, I have no understanding, and I have no wisdom. All I have is observation. I am not the one to go to. I am nothing and I am no one. But life itself, or God, or Christ, if you stay committed to your work and your vision, as an individual who, on a ground level, hope and pray that you are satisfied with your great work. And that is why when we pass on, we say rest in peace.
Mm.
Because even that is letting us know that this life is work. So now you get a chance to rest in peace because you worked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another advocate of death. If you work this life, no matter if you collected rocks or a janitor, if you committed a life journey in collecting rocks, you will feel rest when it's time for you to die because you done the work.
Mm.
The fingernail is not jealous of the thumb. They do their work. So again, please, by all means of your own conscious awareness, just know that me as an individual, call myself Nemo. I have no knowledge, no wisdom. I can only share what is already in existence with these limited words. So if I offend anybody any old way, just know that it was just words. I don't have the ability to pay your electric bill because people they take words and get pretty colorful.
They
like
do.
like people watch sports. You have family members getting the physical fights, even though the people get the paycheck and they don't get the
Yes.
paycheck, and they say we won. So humans, we are creative. So just please remember, these are just words. You have a life that you have to live, that there's a higher power that's governing your life, not me. So again, I am grateful for your time because I didn't create time itself. And my apologies if you missed anything or misunderstood anything. But just know emphatically that I don't have no wisdom. You have wisdom. You have life. You have a journey. And thank you for your moment with me in your life journey. Blessings.
Blessings indeed. And now, as we close, let us remember the light, the passion, the power that we share as one body, void of individuality and full of the experience that we are here to take on in these skin suits that we wear. attention to the candle and join with me. For the candle cannot complain against the harshness and the darkness. It instead emits itself, then admits to itself that it is everything that it needed. It is the light. And so tonight, as we take this light, we do not take it out by blowing it away from us, but we bring it into our very being with a gentle embrace. Some will take their fingers and some will take their hands and they will attach to the light itself and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are that light because we come unharmed. Blessings.
Blessings.